Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. Today's video, I have for you another presentation. This presentation, I'm going to talk about levering up in Pokemon. You've got to risk it for the biscuit. So I'm going to talk about leveraging yourself to the teeth to multiply your gains in Pokemon. Did you believe that? Did you actually believe you were going to get a Dan presentation video talking about being so risky? We're going to talk about the pros and the cons of using credit cards and how beneficial they can be, but also the dangers that come with potentially using a little bit of leverage, a little bit of risk in spending someone else's money. So the pros, we'll start out with the positives because truly, if you are the right kind of individual, I think that the positives heavily outweigh the negatives. The negatives really only show themselves if and when you are being extra risky, irresponsible, or just the wrong kind of nature for a credit card user. So the pros, a caveated pro, 1 to 5% discount on stuff you're buying anyways. I put in parentheses, avoid the traps. If you're buying extra stuff because you're getting a discount on it, if you fall for those 50% off, 70% off, going out of business sales, these might not be right for you. You do have to realize that the 1 to 5% discount you're getting via cashback, via rewards travel, via free hotels, flights, whatever you want to call it, those are being paid for by somebody. Those are being subsidized by the people who have credit cards that shouldn't, the people who are paying massive interest rates on their debt. So keep in mind that the only reason they're paying those high rewards rates, the only reason they're paying those high teaser, open a card with us, get $100 cash back, $300 cash back, which is actually another pro if you're using them obediently. The only reason that happens is because it's a profitable endeavor and some people are really footing the bill for that. So I personally use City Double Cash. I don't have any affiliate links for you. I don't have anything like that. That's my primary. I've had a couple different ones. Otherwise, there's the PayPal. MasterCard, I believe, has 3% on PayPal. Check out NerdWallet. It all depends on what you want to optimize and where your general spends are. This goes for outside of Pokemon too. I mean, a lot of this stuff could be said the same thing as for your personal finances, because everything I do in my business with my credit card usage, I do in my personal finance as well. So everything here primarily is with the context of using it for a Pokemon business, reselling business, but this works for your personal life as well. There's a lot less risk spending someone else's money. And what I mean with that is we live on eBay oftentimes. We live on sometimes PayPal goods and services, an Instagram private deal, Facebook private deal, whatever it may be. eBay is great for buyer protection. Very rarely, if ever, have I heard of people actually getting scammed and not having eBay take care of it or PayPal take care of it. But if and when they don't, the great thing is, say you go on eBay, boom, you win an auction for $1,000. They send you, instead of whatever you're supposed to get, they send you just a fake, they send you a rock, they send you a fake card, whatever it may be. eBay is probably going to stand by you 1 out of 1,000 time that they don't. I mean, it's not your money. You put it on a credit card. It's the credit card company's money. Open a fraud claim, open a chargeback, initiate a chargeback with your credit card company. They can be like the last line of defense. So when you're spending someone else's money, you have the credit card company is on your side, along with eBay, along with PayPal. You're just putting someone else in your corner. Whereas if you do through a debit card, if you do an auto withdrawal from your bank account, if you do a bank transfer, that is you spending your money. Your bank is not really going to, the same way that a credit card company will, have your back if and when things go bad. And then another thing, I personally own no debit cards whatsoever. Anecdotally, I've had a couple close friends of mine who have had $10, $20, $30,000 wiped out of their checking account, fully wiped out because a debit card that they had linked to the account was compromised, and they just charged up all on various websites, whatever it may be, and they got the money back about 6 months later. So in the meantime, mortgage bills coming in, student loan bills, credit card payments coming in, whatever it may be, utility bills. If and when your card is ever compromised, and over I'm 33 now, I've had credit cards for probably 17, 18 years now. Since I was 15, 16, I got my first credit card. 1 or 2 times I've had my cards maxed out on random websites that I've never used before. I called them up, I locked out the card, I had a new card in the mail within the next couple of days, and they took care of it. Whereas if someone's on a debit card spending your money, you're out all that money, potentially days, weeks, months, until it comes back. So I personally opt for not even having anything tied to my checking account except for a checkbook, and then I have an ATM card that maxes out at maybe a few $100 a day. So yeah, if and when you ever are scammed, either you're buying something, actually you buying something and you don't get it, credit card is a line of defense there. And if you're not buying something, if someone else is fraudulently buying something with a credit card as opposed to a debit card, it's someone else's money. So you can freeze the card, call them up, fraud, I didn't do it, and then just don't pay them. Don't pay them. They'll battle it out, show all the proof you can that you didn't do it. Usually it's fairly straightforward. And ultimately the charge will be wiped away. They'll issue a new card and you'll be up and rolling again if you care to be up and rolling again within a few days typically. And then I will give you an example in the next slide. But credit cards used properly, when you charge and pay the full statement balance to avoid paying any interest. I will talk about how statement balances work and how long you can essentially, depending on the time that you buy it, you get a free 30 to 50 day revolving line of credit. Actually, again, I'll show you on the next slide. Done in perpetuity, done the right way, you get a free credit line of credit in perpetuity to whatever your balance is essentially. So, and also, again, done prudently, done the right way, it's just a boost to your credit score. I mean, having charges made, having things paid off on time, it's just like the older the credit history, lower utilization. I'm not going to get into how to maximize your credit score or anything like that, but done properly, not cranking out your utilization too high, you can actually just have a nice steady even flow into your credit score, a nice positive steady flow into that. So here's the example. Hopefully this makes sense. This funky looking sawtooth chart I've got here from Excel. So here's an example, and this is very, very in line with what I do personally. I have 2 credit cards as of this moment. They are both very, very high credit limits. I know Rudy Alpha Investments, he's made some great videos on how he utilizes credit cards and how they should be utilized the same way that I do. $10,000 a week. Say that you are a business. 10,000 is arbitrary. It could be 100. It could be 100,000, depending on how big your credit limits are, depending on how many cards you have, depending on how big your business is going. If I remember to link it, I will link above. I cash flowed last year approximately $100,000 a month. $100,000 a month. I was essentially buying and selling almost every month. Selling a little bit more than I was buying, generally speaking. But yeah, so here's a theoretical example. Your business is never going to be this smooth, this straightforward, but work with me for this example. Every Monday you just have supplier, boom, $10,000, here's your product. And for the first few weeks, so you start a brand new card, October 1st, 2023, you start a brand new card. The first Monday that comes around, you charge $10,000. You do that for 3 weeks in a row before you pay a cent. So before you pay a cent, you're already 3 weeks in, you've charged $30,000 and you've paid nothing. You haven't even gotten a statement yet. And again, you can run this closer. My credit cards are both roughly $50,000 limit. If yours are $5,000, $50,000, $15,000, whatever they are, the numbers can be varied and the timing of the charges and the payments can be varied slightly. The important thing is, your statement comes in and it says your statement balance is $30,000. Whatever the statement due date is, you need to have $30,000 paid before that due date. You can have additional charges, and you almost always will. Like very rarely, say on day 1 you charge $10,000. Each subsequent week you charge $10,000. By the time on this chart you're making your first payment of $10,000 after 3 weeks of charges, you haven't even gotten a statement yet, and you've already made your first payment. So in this example, your statement's going to close basically on that 4th charge after 1 payment of $10,000 at the end of October, and you will have had $40,000 worth of debits, which are charges when you're buying stuff, and you will have had $10,000 worth of credits, which are payments when you are credited to your account, offsetting the charges. So you will have a statement balance of $30,000. So the clock starts there. You have about a month, depending on, and a lot of credit cards these days, you can actually set. If you want your statement balance to be the 15th every month, if you want your due date to be the 5th, whatever you want your due date, whatever you want your statement balance to be, most credit cards have the flexibility where you can have a short period and then you can just have monthly thereafter. So, but yeah, in this example, every subsequent week, every Monday, you're charging $10K. Every Wednesday, you're paying $10K. Boom, boom, boom. So every month thereafter, you're actually charging $40,000 and you're paying 40,000, your statement balance, depending on how it falls exactly, might be 30,000, might be 40,000, but you're always satisfying that because every week you're charging off as much as you're paying. But one underlying thing that you might notice here, that you should notice here, your average balance is anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000. On one of my cards, I have one card it's a little over a $50,000 limit. That is almost perpetually nearly maxed out. Again, I'm not going to get into the intricacies of what your credit score might be affected by that. That's actually very high utilization. That has a detriment to my credit score. But I don't have a mortgage anymore. I don't have student loans. I have no intent to get any new debt anytime soon. So that's just a con that I'm taking like as I go. Like I'm consciously making that negative to my credit score for the benefit of having an additional $30,000 freed up to me. Like in this current state, in this current market that we're in, broadly market, not Pokemon market, you can get 5.4% interest on T-bills. I mean, if you look at 5.4% of a $30,000 average balance that you're running on your credit card, not that this money is going into T-bills for me personally. It's going into inventory, it's going into buying collections, whatever it may be. But theoretically, you could just put that in T-bills, that average $30,000 balance that you're just loaning from them for free in perpetuity, and you'd earn $1,500 a month or $1,500 a year. You'd earn 5% of 30,000, so you'd earn a little over $100 a month, literally just for using a credit card on top of the 1% cash back. Again, if you're charging $40,000 a month every month, I mean, if it's 1%, that's $400 right there. So that's $400 a month in cash back, plus over $100 a month in interest potentially if you're doing T-bills or whatever it may be. So that's all the positive side. We took 11 minutes, 12 minutes to talk about the positive side. Let's talk about the cons. One con that I forgot to put on here that I did talk about in the last slide, I knew some things might come up. If you're utilizing your credit cards, again, if it's a $50,000 limit and you're running at $30,000 every month, that's what works out to be 60% utilization. And I mean, honestly, I'm running mine closer to 80, 90% utilization a lot of times. My one card, my other card, not so much. But anyways, if you're running that high of utilization, you are having a detriment to your credit score. If and when you were to go try to get pre-qualified for a mortgage, they would see that you have $50,000 on a credit card and they would give you less money. They would be like, whoa, let's pump the brakes. So be very careful if you are intending to get a new car loan. Be very careful if you're intending to get a new mortgage. Be very careful if you're intending to get any new kinds of credit whatsoever. That is one big disclaimer that I'll put in there. And then another thing, me personally, again, I hopefully linked the video before where I did $1.2 million last year, cash flowing essentially $100,000 a month. My credit limit is roughly 1-to-1 with my monthly cash flow. Very approximately. It fluctuates a lot month by month. But me personally, the way that I see it, and I don't remember the progression of my credit card limits over the past several years that I've done this, but very roughly, they've probably been ish 1-to-1. What I mean by that, my total credit limit between two cards, say it's $100,000. Very approximately, it probably is. My cash flow is roughly $100,000 a month. So if you are in a situation where you are cash flowing only $10,000 a month and you're trying to charge $100,000 worth on your credit cards, that is significantly more risky than if you're cash flowing $500,000 a month and have $100,000 line of revolving credit essentially. So I'm at a 1-to-1. I'm not saying that 1-to-1 is like the perfect thing, but the way that I think about it, and one thing that I should say on top of all this, backstopped by my cash flow, backstopped by my incoming sales, I have always had, and I've never paid a cent of interest. I've always paid the statement balance in full. I've never paid a cent of interest in these credit cards. The money is always in my bank account, ready to pay the credit cards off in full. The only reason that I do this is if an opportunity comes up where I can buy a massive collection via cash, via bank wire. If I've paid this down to zero, now I have $30,000 less in my bank account ready to buy a collection. And it does get risky. I mean, it can get risky. It can get as risky as you will allow it to. And that's where me personally, very low risk. I keep 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 on one card, but I keep more than that in cash. Any given day, I can press a button and I can pay off the balance in full. But why do it? Why do it when it's interest free? There's no sense in doing it. So anyways, back to this. I had to look this up. I had to look this up to know what they even were because I don't pay them. 27.49 and 28.24% interest rates on my 2 rewards credit cards. Terrible, ridiculous. Again, I can only earn 5.4% on my money in T-bills. Maybe you earn 10% in the stock market over 50 years, 100 years historically. Maybe you earn 20% in a good year. 28%. That is fighting a very uphill battle. If you are paying the 28.24% interest rate that your credit card is charging you, you are fighting a massively uphill battle. You need things to go up by 28% just to break even if you're carrying them on the credit card. So yeah, I did the math on it too. If you have a $50,000 balance, if I max out my one card and then something goes wrong, again, I do have the cash there, ready to pay it off at a moment's notice if needed. But say a big collection comes along and I decide to get really risky and I buy a massive collection and then I don't have the money ready to pay it off and then something else goes wrong and something else goes wrong. Life can happen. That's why I tend to have the cash in the bank account ready to go. But say I had to for a month carry it. A $50,000 balance carried for 1 month is $1,176.67 in interest. I've never paid a cent of interest on either of those cards, but if I ever, and honestly, that could be missing the statement balance by 1 day. For anyone who doesn't know, if your statement balance is $40,000 and you pay $30,000 and you pay 1 day late, you pay the whole average last month's balance. If you were 1 minute late, if I paid at 12:01 a.m., maybe if it's your first time, you might be able to call somebody, you might be able to get forgiveness, blah, 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 but don't count on it. Because if you forget to pay, if your auto pay fails, if you overdraft your bank account and the payment doesn't go through, if one thing goes wrong, you're facing a almost $1,200 bill. So there is risk. Like, definitely know the risk. This is disclaimer Dan talking to you. It's not all sunshines and rainbows, but if you do it right, it can be huge. I mean, just having that extra cash flow, having that extra cushion, being able to buy a collection as it comes up, being able to be that cash buyer. I don't need to pay half on PayPal, half on this, half on. I can just pay you in. How do you want it? Do you want bank wire, or do you want $100 bills? That makes you a much more workable buyer in many situations. And then, yeah, I talk about if you're not a credit card person, and if you're not good enough to pay your bills on time, if you might forget to make that payment every week, you miss that one payment. Well, boom, that costs you $1,200. That's a big oopsie if you make that mistake. So set alarms in your phone, set calendar reminders on your Google Calendar, whatever your mechanism is. Set up auto pay. If you always have the cash in your account anyways, set up auto pay to just always pay X amount. And it's not, again, this was a unrealistic example that is just too perfectly clean and smooth. It's going to vary a lot. It's going to be a lot more choppy. It's going to be a lot more just here and there. So yeah, if you're not a credit card person, this is not advice for you, but if you are, it can be very, very beneficial to your business. So let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. Let me know how you interact with credit. Let me know. There are more benefits too that I didn't get into. Say you're buying, again, talk to your accountant for what you're allowed to write off and what you're not. A lot of my credit cards, personal and business, if you buy a computer, if you buy a laptop, if you buy any kind of electronic, they just add a year to your manufacturer's warranty. Like, again, go to NerdWallet, go to all the various websites for the credit cards, read the fine print, make sure you're applying to something legitimate and that will be beneficial to you and your use cases and your personal needs. I don't really get into the travel hacking. I don't really get into the... I hear some people who spend tons of money in Pokemon. Oh, I fly for free all year. I stay in hotels for free all year. I mean, I spend several $100,000 a year. My cash back last year was multiple tens of thousands of dollars. Not only did I fly for free and do hotels for free, like, I mean, multiple tens of thousands of dollars, do that and then some. So I think some people sometimes will go into rewards, travel cards. I just like the straightforward cash. Give me cash. Let me buy something for 10 grand, get $200 cash back. Statement credit, boom. I pay $9,800 and I pay a $200 statement credit. Simple, clean. So that's the way that I've always gone. Let me know in the comments. Do you use credit cards? Are credit cards the devil? Do you chop them all up? Are you not? I mean, it takes a big person to know their faults and to know, like, if you're not a credit card person, it's unfortunate to have to miss out on, like, the great benefits. But if you can knowingly If you can know that about yourself and opt away from it, just knowing that it will lead bad places, like that's a great that's a great character trait, to be able to identify that and know that and to avoid them. So yeah, with that, that's all I had for today. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. I will catch you all later.